morning, everyone. I think we're just waiting on Randall to join. He's been in contact with me this morning, so I imagine he'll be on shortly.
Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
Courtney, have you reached out to Randall and spoken to him? I don't know. I think I'm on. Wait a minute. You don't see my video probably. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am, I can see you.
Okay, great. Have we spoken to Randall? Would he like for me to begin to start the meeting? Do we have enough? Do we have a quorum? I don't believe so. Do we?
Randall actually just texted me while you were speaking, and he said that he's
Okay.
actually not going to be able to attend today. So would you mind chairing this meeting this morning?
Okay. Do we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay. All right. Well, greetings, everyone, and good morning to you. I am, as you can see, just being notified to chair the meeting, which is okay. That's what we do. We improvise. And so I want to just go right on ahead and call a meeting to order by starting with a roll call. And I believe, Courtney, we have everyone present with the exception of our chair.
Correct.
And then I see that we have staff members as well that's on. If you all feel comfortable with introducing yourself because we're on YouTube, that will be great for the public to know who's actually sitting here today. And so, of course, I'm Hyacinth McKee. I am serving as the vice chairperson for the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council, and I will be hosting the meeting today.
Good morning. I am Stephen Nguyen, self-advocate from Region 10, Jefferson Parish.
I'm Mary Tarver, parent from Alexandria.
Good morning, Michael Billings, parent, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And I'm Courtney Ryland, interim executive director for the council.
Great. All right, so if that's everyone that's on the YouTube call, I want to just proceed to the next item on the agenda. Now we will be approving the minutes from the August 1st, 2020 Executive Committee meeting summary. Has everyone got an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes, I make a motion to approve.
Good to see you, Mary. So happy to see you. Sorry, y'all, that was out of Robert's rules, but I'm happy to see Mary. Okay, so do we have someone to second that motion to approve those minutes?
I'll second.
Okay, so any abstentions? Any objections? Okay, motion carries to approve the August 1st, 2020 Executive Committee meeting summary. All right, and so the next item on the agenda is the review of public comment on the adopted fiscal year 2021 plan. And so has everyone got an opportunity to review the 2021 fiscal year plan? Are there any questions that's on that plan?
Well, actually, as of today, we have not received any public comment on the adopted 2021 plan. Also, Ms. Karonda Corley has her hand raised.
Oh, thanks for that, because I can't see it. All right, and so if we didn't have any questions from the executive committee, I would like the opportunity to go on ahead and allow the public to make a comment and have a question. So committee, any questions from you or any comments you want to make before I open it up to the public? Okay, sounds like I don't see anyone saying that. So, all right, so let's go on ahead and get public comment. Ms. Corley, feel free to share your comments regarding the fiscal year plan.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Executive Council. My first question is because I raised my hand actually before the motion to accept the actual minutes, and it was in regards to an actual motion that was put in place in the last executive meeting, and that motion was in regards to the council being able to receive provide equipment for all of the council members if need be. That motion reads that it is the executive director and the chairman that have to make that approval. And currently, we do not have an executive director. We have an interim. So I was wanting to bring that to the light, that it would need to, in order for our council members that to actually attend that do not have any devices, that motion would have to be substituted with a new motion that reads for the interim executive director and chairman to actually be able to make the purchases or allow for council members to actually receive that equipment. Because the way it's reading right now is saying executive director, and we don't have an executive director. So that was the first thing that I wanted to bring up. And as far as in schools re-entering, that was the topic that we were on next. Am I correct, Dr. McKee?
We're on the comments that we're accepting right now, and I appreciate that first comment, and we will address that and respond to it. The second, we're on the fiscal year action plan, and we're accepting comments specifically for any questions or concerns about that, about the action.
Okay, and with the action plan for the fiscal year, I thought that that was really beautiful and very detailed in regards to what has actually taken place for those years and the actual amount that was provided to those entities. But I would have greatly appreciated, and I think everyone else in the community would appreciate, if we could actually have the information showing the demographics that were serviced by those entities, including racial demographics and rural populations, because that was something that the NADDC and all had spoke on, that we needed to actually have the targeted populations represented. And that plan did not show if those targeted populations were actually represented or adhered to by this policy, by this plan that had just previously expired.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Corley, for that, both comments, and I'm sure that we're taking notes of that right now. I want to address that first, the comment that you had about the right now in terms of the wording, because the motion said executive director. Well, at the time when the motion was made, we did have a, in fact, Sean was actually the interim exec. He served in that role as interim executive director. So really, during that time, we had an interim executive director. And so as it stands, Courtney Ryland is our new interim executive director. And she, along with the direction and the support of the executive committee, as well as the chair, will act in the role of executive director until we hire a new executive director. So with that being said, we will have some discussion and conversation about the wording, but it's my understanding that as it stands right now, with the direction and support of the chair and executive committee, Ms. Ryland does have the authority to act upon and on that request to ensure that our council members do have the technology that they need. And so we will work, to ensuring that that happens, and then revisit the wording. But I think what you're saying is twofold, and it's very important in that the biggest issue is we want to make sure that all of our council members have access to the meetings and that they have the technology needed. So again, thank you for those comments, Ms. Corley, and we are duly noted. All right, let's see, the next on the agenda. So first, let's say, so if we don't have any more public comments on the fiscal year 2021 plan, we have to make a motion whether or not do we accept the fiscal year 2021 plan as it is, to bring it before the full council for consideration. I see Courtney jumping in. Yes, Courtney.
Sorry about that. I believe
all
Mr.
right.
Chris Rodriguez also wanted to make a comment about.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, greetings, Chris. I can't see hands and stuff because I have my screen saying one thing and I see Courtney. So hi, Chris. If you're on, please feel free to jump in and make a comment.
Well, where did he go?
Okay. Hey, hello,
Hi,
everybody.
Chris. Hi.
Everybody's doing well. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you.
So Courtney had reached out if I could attend just to answer any types of questions. I know that there is a section on the work plan that relates to voting activities. And when we originally had that conversation during the planning meeting, I just wanted to be very clear about what it means. So our organization, DRLA, gets a pot of money to specifically work just on voting and voter participation amongst people with disabilities, voter education and things like that. It's a big chunk of money and we oftentimes have trouble using it sometimes. So we try as best we can to partner with organizations and help them participate with us in voter education and voter things to increase voter participation. So under here, it says it's a cost of $7,000. And this is probably me not being clear back then. This is us willing to provide the DD Council with $7,000 to help us continue to do voter outreach and things like this. This wouldn't necessarily be a cost of the DD Council. Now, you're welcome to, I think it's still a good cause if you guys want to invest the $7,000, but I'm just wanted to note that you don't have to. While we would like you to do the work, if we're working together, we can supplement the funds from our grant. I don't know if that makes any difference for anything, but.
Chris, thanks for sharing. I know that we had some conversation about the $7,000 in the past, and what I left with was it was there as a way to serve as a supplement if, you know, if it was needed. Like it wasn't, and I know we had some dialogue about, but it wasn't, I left with the impression that it was there in case if a supplement needed to occur. That's what I left with. So are we saying the same thing? Are we saying that you are able to fulfill this objective, not necessarily needing this money, and that it's there, you know, if it is needed? Am I hearing that? Because that's what I left with the last time we had a
I think that's
conversation.
spot on. Yeah, yeah. I think
Okay,
that's
okay.
absolutely correct.
Okay, because that's what I left. That's the understanding I left with. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Anyone has any comments about or questions about what Chris mentioned, what he said? Anyone on that? Okay. All right, well, if we don't have any more comments about this, we are going to have to entertain a motion with approving this fiscal year plan to bring before the full council. So right now, I would like to entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 action plan.
I'll second.
Okay, so Stephen has made a motion. Mary has second. Any objections? Any abstentions?
Courtney has a comment.
Okay, I don't see. Michael, is that a comment from you?
So just to clarify, what action is needed to be taken right now is for the executive committee to ratify this plan,
Okay,
because it will be effective as of October 1st. It will not be allowed to go
that's
to
right. That's
the full
right. That's right.
council
That's
for
right.
October 22nd.
That's
So I
right,
just wanted to
Courtney.
make
Thank
that
you.
clarification. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Courtney.
So
You're
I'll make the
absolutely correct.
motion to ratify fiscal year 2021 action plan.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Stephen has made a motion to ratify the fiscal year 2021 plan. Mary has second the motion. Any objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion is carried. Okay. All right, so now we will move right along to the public comment protocol. And I'm going to ask Courtney at this time the document is there. I'm going to ask Courtney to make any comments regarding the virtual public comment and the protocol. Courtney there? Courtney? Hope we didn't lose her.
You muted, Courtney.
Who muted her? Oh, Courtney, are you muted? You know, one thing about these virtual meetings, it shows what generation you belong to. I tell you that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
I
All
apologize.
right. So Courtney, will you be willing to just, talk about the protocol for public comment for the meetings?
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to share my screen.
Thank
So I
you.
can get it to work correctly. Share screen. All right. So can everyone see the teleconference meeting protocols on the
Yes.
screen? Okay.
You can see the agenda.
Okay. You only see the agenda.
Yes, I only see the agenda. I don't see the actual protocol,
Oh, okay. See, that's what I need.
but I've seen I think we've all, as the
Okay.
executive committee, seen.
Well, then I guess I'll just read.
Okay.
So we are trying to be accommodating and allowing comments on YouTube, but we've come across now with the multiple meetings we've had virtually, where if there are any comments on the YouTube channel, they're so delayed because of a delay from Zoom reaching YouTube that by the time we are able to even read those comments aloud, we have already passed that order of business. And it's also dedicating an entire staff person just to watch the YouTube feed during the Zoom meeting and trying to read those comments aloud during the Zoom meeting. So we're asking for clarification on if the YouTube comments need to be read aloud during the Zoom meeting, or since it's a public comment forum platform, if just allowing people to comment on the YouTube channel and not having to read it aloud during the Zoom meeting.
Okay. So for clarification, let me understand what you're saying, Courtney, that it has become a challenge to read the public comments because of the delay from Zoom to YouTube. Is that what I'm hearing? It's like a delay or something?
Correct.
Okay. So the way to remedy that is to just have the comments posted in the chat box for all to view and see.
Well, people who are attending via Zoom can still post in the chat box.
They
But
can.
if people are only viewing our meeting through YouTube, there's
can't
a
see
comment,
that.
right? There's a
Uh-huh.
comment box that a staff person is monitoring. But again, there's a delay. There's like a few minutes delay from when we talk about something on Zoom,
Yes.
the time it reaches YouTube.
Yes. And so then it appears as though we are not addressing the needs or the comments that the publics have. And it's really not the case. It's because it's a technical delay. Is that what I'm understanding? And we will move on to another topic, and that comment had been kind of
Correct.
sitting dormant in the box. Okay.
And persons' comments on YouTube are public, and anyone who gets on the channel to watch the meeting on
Can see
YouTube
it.
can still see their comments. So it's not
Absolutely.
like we're censoring anybody's comments. It's just having to dedicate a staff to watch the YouTube and then read it aloud in Zoom or type it in our chat in Zoom is challenging and
It's challenging.
probably not a good not a good use of staff's time.
Any recommendations from the committee on, or any thoughts from the committee on how we can ensure that people's comments are being heard? Like, is there something that we can do? And Courtney, of course, chime in, and and of course, I'm sure you're going to have a conversation with your staff. I'm understanding both sides, and I'm hearing the need to address both issues, and I want to be able for us to work together to develop something that can kind of address it both ways. Any recommendations or ideas from the executive committee that we can probably toss around that can
I
probably
have a
help?
question.
Yes, Stephen, thanks.
Mary, do you want to go first? Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So is there another app or something that we can use that we can collect like comments in real time? Something like an instant messenger or something that we can use in conjunction with YouTube, that we can just collect in real time, and I don't know, and then we can read it from there, I guess.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen, for that comment. Maybe that's something we can consider looking into. Thanks for that, Mary.
I was just gonna say, if it's a, like a couple of minute delay, that when it's public comment, the people who are on Zoom, their comments are gonna be seen first, which would probably take up a couple of minutes. And then by then, the YouTube comments should be able to be seen. And then we would, either at that time be able to see their comments, because when we're on Zoom, we can't see
Right.
what the YouTube people are saying. So I would either say like a pause for, 2 minutes if we think that's gonna, where the comments are starting to show up, so that you see that you're having a conversation. Because if we waited a 2-minute time or 3-minute time and then said, okay, we're moving on to the next thing, that was still giving people an opportunity to speak. And it probably, between all the comments that we usually have on Zoom, by the time that the YouTube comments are coming up, we probably haven't really sat and delayed necessarily, but where we're just sitting in silence. But that could happen from time to time. But I just wonder if it's just the delay time that we need.
Thanks, Mary, for that. That makes sense, because that delay is really where the challenge is. Any other comments from executive committee? Anybody else want to make recommendations? And then I also want to ask if there's any council members that are present. I know Chris is on that. I want to give them an opportunity to make any comments regarding this concern as well. And so if we don't have any other comments from executive committee, any council members that are on right now that can chime in or make any recommendations? Do you have any?
Hyacinth, we do have a couple of comments in the chat.
Yeah, is it public or council members?
It is public comment.
Okay, 1 second. I will definitely get to public. I just want to make sure that if there's any council members who wants to make, just chime in, because they sit on these Zooms and they have comments too. So if not, if I don't hear any from our council members that are present, I will go on ahead and start to hear the comments from the public. So you all can just start reading them or allowing them, because I can't see them. And again, we can't see them right now. So any staff member, thank you.
Okay, so the first one is from Ms. Karonda Corley. It was a question about the plan. She asked, will the required changes per NADDC be added targeting the population such as rural areas and diversity?
Thank you, Ms. Corley, about that. We we need to have more conversation about that. I believe that everyone on the committee feels strongly about what you're saying on that. We need to be able to have some dialogue about putting that into place. And so I want you to know that we heard your comment on that. It's duly noted. And we plan to engage in more dialogue about that. I want to be able to be have the opportunity for our chairperson, Mr. Randall, who's not here, to also be able to be privileged to that recommendation that you made. And so please know that it is noted, and we intend to work very closely to ensure that we get some resolution on that comment. I just want to share that with you. So just know that you have been heard on that. Is there another public comment?
Yes, there are several about the virtual Zoom participation.
Okay,
Ms.
sure. Thank you.
Ms. Kathy Dwyer says participants on Zoom may be interested in hearing the YouTube comments. Ms. Christy Crooks says, can that feature be turned off or information added to the screen to chats to the person you have that is monitoring? I don't know.
I don't understand that one, Ebony. I understand the
Yes, ma'am.
first. Okay.
Clarification on that one.
Yeah, we need clarification. Yeah, I was a little stumped on that one. Okay. You have
Miss-
some more.
Yes, Miss Angela Lorio says you could simply give a few minutes before every vote and before you close a topic to wait for YouTube to catch up to real time.
Okay. That sounds something like what our executive committee member Tarver, Miss Mary Tarver said. Okay, yes.
Miss Christy Crooks also says, sorry, the person monitoring can copy and paste the comments emailed to Zoom chat.
Okay. All right.
Miss Angela Lorio says public comments taken in is a very good use of DDC staff time. Miss Bridget Bergeron says if a comment is not on topic, is it still answered and addressed?
Okay.
Well, I think she's asking a question. If a comment is not on topic, is it still answered and addressed?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ebony, for that. So we'll just make sure everybody's muted so we can address the comments. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you for those comments. And it sounds like the biggest issue, what I'm gathering, and of course, jump in committee meeting, is that people want to make sure that they're being heard. And so we have to, devise a way to ensure that folks, individuals are being heard. And it sounds like the recommendation that Mary Tarver made mirrors a lot of what was heard in the public comment. And of course, if you didn't hear that, please let me know. But we can come up with a way to perhaps include in the agenda, like we've done in the past, when public comment is to be open, and then allow for a pause, a delay, so that we can allow for public comment and address that particular topic. So we will have to, because of the Zoom and the technology, perhaps considering having a time to pause, to allow for public comment, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and to allow for those comments to catch up so they can be heard. And so I know it seems challenging. It's a lot of time, but and no one wants to be in this virtual world. But I believe that we want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to express their needs and express any questions or concerns that they have for the council. And given this environment, this is what we're tasked with. So right now, I would entertain the motion. I'm leaning towards what Mary Tarver said, committee, about allowing a delay, having a, time set aside on the agenda, allowing for a delay for public comments to catch up. And I hope I'm saying that correct, Mary. Does that sound like exactly what you were proposing?
Yeah, I think it's still going to require the staff to look at it because they're the ones who are seeing the YouTube while we're on a Zoom. So I don't know
Right.
if we're going to get out of, the staff not being able to, the staff's still going to have to monitor the YouTube unless there's some other way that they know to do that. And then I think the question about when we see the comments, if it's not on the topic, then I don't think they should be read at that time. At the end of the meeting, we have time for open comments.
Yes.
But if it's something that's not on the agenda, that we're talking about, then I think that we skip over those until we either are having those conversations or it's the end of the meeting and there's open public comment.
So it sounds like pretty much a readjusting to the agenda to ensure that we do have time for public comment after each topic, but then also reserving time at the end of the meeting for public comment for something that we may have not been able to address during the agenda. Does that sound correct, Mary? Okay. All right. And so at this time, I will entertain a motion. We have to make a motion. Just as what we just discussed. Can someone make that motion? Do I need to repeat it again and then someone can make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we put in our agendas a pause so that we can capture any comments being made on other social media during a meeting and having staff to be able to read that during the meeting.
Do we have a second to Mary's motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, do we have any objections to the motion? Any abstentions?
Hyacinth, there are two more comments from the public. Ms. Christy Crook says one solution is
Wait.
to-
I have a motion on the table that I have to finish. I have to carry the motion. So if there's no objections, no abstentions, motion's carried. Okay, now we'll entertain comments. Sorry, Ebony, but.
Oh, no, that's fine. One solution is to turn off the YouTube chat feature. Instead, you provide an email address of the person monitoring. The monitor can then copy, paste to Zoom chat and all will see. Ms. Karonda Corley says if the public comment period is longer than 3 minutes, then the pause would not be necessary on the agenda. And Ms. Angela Lorio said, be sure you include pausing before a vote. You can't go back to a topic after a vote is made. And that's all.
Thank you for your public comments. All right, so we're going to move right along to the next topic on the agenda. And so we have 3 letters that were submitted to the council for review. We have a letter from Ms. Karonda Corley, a letter from Ms. Kim Basil, one of our council members, and a letter from Mr. Anthony Lukzak, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, from the public. And so at this time, has everyone on the committee been able to read the letters? Okay. All right. The letter from,
Oh,
go ahead,
excuse me,
Courtney.
I'm sorry. Okay, so actually Randall has texted me and has asked that this discussion be delayed. So I'm entertaining the notion from the chair who is absent. He has requested for this to be delayed. If not, we would need to go into executive session.
So we will go into executive session for two of the letters, but one of the letters is from the public, and I'm not sure if we need to go into executive session for a letter from the public. So right now I'm chairing this meeting, and I need to be able to chair the meeting with everyone that's physically present. And so with that, I was going to offer to the committee for us to review and discuss Anthony Lukaszak's letter, if possible. And then Ms. Krahanda Corley's letter was read aloud to the entire council at the council meeting. That needs to be addressed, but because it is pertaining to an executive council meeting, those two letters will be the one that I would recommend that we go into executive session to talk about. But Anthony Luzak's letter, I don't want to delay because this gentleman has sent this letter many weeks ago and we need to address it. So executive committee, thanks Courtney for that. And respecting the chair, I do want to, I think we're at the point where delaying this, I can't continue to delay. We have seen these letters for months now. So I think it's time to have a conversation about moving forward and addressing the concerns of these three letters. So I'm going to ask the committee if the committee will bear with us today and follow it in that order. So again, I'm saying, can we look at Anthony, at least look at Anthony Luzak's letter, and then go into executive session for Ms. Krahanda Corley and Ms. Kim Basil's letter, because again, it is a character, it's about a character, it's a character letter, executive session. Are we in agreement with that? Committee, what are your thoughts on that? I'm open to comment on that. I can't see everybody, so. What are your thoughts? Are you making a motion to delay it? What are your thoughts?
I think we can, the letter that Mr. Anthony sent, I agree that we could talk about that today. The other two, I don't know about those.
Okay.
Especially, I know if Randall's been working on these things, I feel like we're gonna have to have his input anyway.
Okay. All right, and so can we,
'Cause I think we already have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday.
Wednesday's jam-packed. So are you all making a motion to move these letters to Wednesday? I need to know what the motion is. But Wednesday's schedule is jam-packed and it's during a workday. So we have to keep that in mind too, folks, you know?
The agenda for Wednesday actually includes old business at the end of the meeting. So it was anticipation of if the discussion for all three of these letters weren't able to be done before 12 o'clock, that we would be able to resume or conclude the discussion for those letters at that time.
So my concern is, and again, we have an executive committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday that's during a work day. And given what's on the agenda for the executive committee meeting on Wednesday, now we're saying we want to delay discussion about these letters into another, are we pushing it off to another executive committee meeting? That's just, we just having a discussion. I just want to make sure that whatever we decide, that a motion is made and this is where we are. But these letters have been sitting with us for some time now. That's where I am. They've been sitting with us from some time now. And so my concern is, if we do move it, do we have time on the schedule on Wednesday for everyone to be present to address the letters? Just need some feedback from my executive committee, from the executive committee.
I think we should defer them until everybody's present.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we defer reviewing the letters until our executive committee meeting on Wednesday.
I'll second.
Motion was made to defer the letters that was received to Wednesday till everyone is present. Mary second the motion. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
Hyacinth Karanda Corley has her hand raised.
Yes. Any public comment? Yes, Ms. Corley.
Great morning, Madam Chair and Council, Executive Committee. The next meeting, the next executive meeting, which is on Wednesday, the 9th, I know that we're supposed to also discuss in full detail about, according to that agenda, everything dealing with the fiscal year, 1-year plan. But the day before that is when the actual legislative session actually begins. So addressing I don't have a problem with tabling the letters from Ms. Basile and myself to Wednesday. But I think that it would be extremely prudent of the committee, executive committee, to actually address Mr. Luzak's letter, because that's a letter in regards to children re-entering into the school systems. And we actually have children that have actually returned into the brick and mortar buildings that are deeply affected by a lot of the things that his letter actually discusses. And this is some of the things that actually will be addressed during legislative session. So it would actually be delaying our council to following the actual DD Act by actually advocating for our people in our DD community if we do not go ahead and address his letter.
Thank you, Ms. Corley, for your public comment. I want to just make a comment. I am deeply concerned that we are not going to address Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter today, and I need that to be on record. That, you know, as I'm chairing today, I'm very concerned that we are not going to address Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter. And I certainly, I'm not sure if the executive committee had an opportunity to read it, but it is some serious concerns from the public. And so what I am pressing upon the executive committee is to really consider to readjusting that agenda so that Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter is top priority on the agenda for Wednesday. And so I don't know if I can make a motion as a chair, but again, I'm requesting that the agenda be rewritten to ensure that Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter is top priority on the agenda for Wednesday. That the agenda should be reassigned and that his information should not be considered old business. It has been, this letter has been sitting with the DD Council for some time now, and he has every right as a public member to be heard. And so again, I want to press upon that. So I'm not sure if I can make a motion as chair, but I just need that to be in record, that his letter needs to be addressed as a priority.
Mr. Luzak has his hand raised.
Oh, Mr. Luzak, didn't know you were on today. Greetings. Any comments, any public comments?
My name is Anthony Luzak. I am the person that wrote the letter you are speaking about. And thank you, Dr. McKee, for your comment that preceded mine. I wrote this letter and I notified the Developmental Disability Council 48 hours before the last executive committee meeting. And it wasn't addressed then either. It was on the agenda to be addressed this meeting. And we again are not going to be addressing these issues. The results are that not just children, but all people in Louisiana are impacted by the issues that I'm addressing. We have systemic issues that directly affect the evaluation, the implementation of the children, and because these issues have been going on for decades, many of the adults in the communities of intellectual and developmental disability that need to be addressed. The Developmental Disability Council, as I understand it, is supposed to be helping my patients and the many members of this community. And it's very disappointing to me that we are tabling this matter until after the next legislative session begins. It is a, how do I put this? Right now in Louisiana, your silence bespeaks consent with a system that stands by and watches children not get identified as needing services and then get misdiagnosed with psychiatric issues and then get trauma through the lack of services that should have been provided earlier in their life, and then driving directly to a pipeline to prison because of a lack of efficacy of our education system, of the Office of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, and with the Medicaid system in recognizing and providing services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We need to make a stand, and I need your help. And you're on this council to help these people. So please, please stand with us about these issues. And I am on record as saying that I'm extremely disappointed with your decision to table this. I set aside time today to attend this meeting, and this is the second time that you're not attending, that you're not addressing a letter that I notified you of. I requested that you address it 48 hours before your last meeting. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Luczak. Any other public comment regarding this topic, the address letters received?
Mr. Chris Rodriguez has a question in the question and answer box. Or actually, it's a comment.
Hi, Chris. How are you? Greetings. Please join.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it was just a comment, actually. I was just gonna let the gentleman know that, unrelated to the DD Council, I believe I haven't read his letter in detail, but I believe that Disability Rights Louisiana might be in the process of litigating either this issue specifically, or certainly an issue that is very close to this one in a class action that we have going on right now. So I'd be happy to talk about that with him if he'd like to reach out to me and we can discuss it.
Thank you, Chris, for your comments. Any other comments regarding this topic?
Ms. Corley has her hand raised.
Ms. Corley, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rodriguez just stated that he would like to entertain Mr. Luczak aside from the rest of the public and the committee. And it would be prudent, since the letter has already been made public, for all of us to actually read, that the conversation be made public for all of us to be able to engage. The reason that I'm saying that is because we have more than 200,000 children with disabilities that are in the school systems. That is not private sector, that is public and charter. including our special school district that has around 300 to 500 students. So this is something that even if the Advocate Center, which their new name is Disabilities Rights Advocacy Center, if they're pursuing litigation, this is still something that is similar or remotely close to what this gentleman's letter discusses. This is still something that the full disabilities community need to be engaged in and need to actually be properly informed and allow the opportunity to have their voices heard, because too many opportunities have passed where our people in our community are feeling like they're not being heard and they're not being brought to the table. And this is why our community right now is left in such a dilapidated state. And so it would just be extremely prudent if we could actually just discuss the letter and whatever the executive committee would like to pursue as far as in Mr. Luzak's letter, that could actually be moved to Wednesday if y'all do not feel comfortable about it. But at least discussing the letter, when we actually have such a great turnout of people from the community that actually want to have their voices heard and want to actually, and that are afraid about their children returning to brick and mortar buildings, I think that this is something that we should just actually go ahead and at least discuss. Because according to Mr. Luzak's letter, he's a medical professional. So we're not even sure if he would actually be able to attend on Wednesday. So it's just that we're not taking into consideration that he's taking time out of his busy schedule to actually attend a meeting twice to discuss such a pertinent topic that impacts so many people in our state. And we're failing to actually do what we're federally required to do, which is to advocate for our people within our community that have a developmental disability. And that's what we actually are supposed to do. Advocate and promote systems change federally. And federally right now, we're not adhering to that portion of our bylaws or the DD Act if we table it again until Wednesday. And I'm just open to whatever the committee would like to say in regards to that. But I really just think that we should at least discuss it, and instead of just tabling it again, because then Wednesday we may table it again. So I don't want it to be that we constantly keep tabling.
Thank you, Ms. Grahanda, for your public comment.
I would like to go back and address the letter, please, for
There are some
Mr.
other
Luzak's.
Okay, we do have other comments. Thank you, Stephen, for that. If we have other comments, can we take those comments and then hear the recommendation from Stephen, our executive committee member? Any other comments that we have? Courtney, do you see any other hands raised? I think I see Chris' hands. I just figured this out. So Chris, I see your hand raised. We don't hear you, Chris, but I do see your hand raised. You have the floor.
There we go. Hello?
Okay, yes.
So I did just want to provide a little more information since we're talking about it, at least to a certain extent. So just to give a little more information on what we're currently doing. I don't know how much information I can give, but without our lawyers getting upset with me, but we are involved in a class action lawsuit. We have partnered with the Southern Poverty Law Center, the National Health Law Program, the National Center for Law and Economic Justice, and a private law firm to bring a class action lawsuit against LDH. What it basically is doing, and it's at the very beginning stages of this, and in fact, we are part of bringing this forth, but we're actually not the leads on this, but we're heavily involved. The class action lawsuit asserts that LDH is not properly or is failing to provide mental health services to Medicaid eligible children and families in the state of Louisiana. And the suit seeks the court order requiring the state to fulfill its obligations under the law to provide the necessary services for children with mental health needs and to prevent the unnecessary risk of their institutionalization. So on record, that's basically like the very, very, 45,000 foot view of the litigation that we have going on. And I just like to remind folks the way that we try and operate as a DD network. So for those of you who may not know, which I'm guessing most of you do, the PNA, which is the agency that I run, Disability Rights Louisiana, and the DD Council and the USAID are all birthed through the same piece of legislation. And we are highly recommended to kind of work together. We have different tools in which we utilize in order to affect change, positive change of people with disabilities. So there's things that the DD Council is very good at that we know at the PNA we don't have to worry about because you guys can take care of that. And there's things that we can do that the DD Council would have difficulties doing, like litigation. And there's things that the USAID can do, like crunching numbers and trainings and things like that, that they do very well. So we don't have to do as much of that. Not to say that we all can't do these things. But I feel as though we're getting towards a very similar thing that happened in the class action last year with the medically fragile children and the skilled nursing, when there was a lot of pressure for the DD Council to do something. But in fact, we were really working on it. And it's probably our fault for not communicating better with the public and with the DD Council members in the work that we're doing. But I don't want folks to think just because the DD Council isn't taking action on certain things that they're not aware of it. It just might be that there's another entity that is better suited to address certain issues at this time than perhaps the DD Council or any other organization might be. Or as the governing body, you might say, wow, the PNA is doing a great job, but the DD Council still has a role here. We still want to do our own thing as well. That's certainly the prerogative of the council, but just wanted to give a little more information on what's going on there. And for anybody's interest, I'm happy to talk more about this issue so that folks understand what's going on. Because obviously at the end of this, we have concerned people over what is obviously a very legitimate and important issue, and we just want to get it resolved. So whether it's the DD Council, whether it's us, whether it's the Southern Poverty Law Center or the private firm that we're also going with, we just want to see these kids get the help that they need.
Thank you, Chris, for that, for the comment that you just, and I'm glad that you are extending, support to our families in the community. We all do at Disability Rights. In terms of the letter, though, again, the letter is going to involve some discussion with the DD Council to at least address the letter and to determine what best course of action the DD Council should take in terms of positioning and at least hearing what's written in the letter pertaining, and the letter pertains to behavioral health, mental health, as well as DD service combined and a lack thereof, right? So, thanks again for that. But the letter has a little bit more detailed information that includes the developmental disability community awareness and input as well. So I just wanted to, make that noted, because it sounds like what you all are dealing with right now with disability rights, it spoke a lot to just one side of the equation, but this letter speaks to both sides of the equation in terms of getting feedback and buy-in from both communities. I do see another public comment. I'm going to ask that public comment just kind of take a pause while I address the committee member request, and then I'll go back to public comment. So I believe our executive committee member, Stephen Wynn, had a comment he wanted to make.
No, I just wanted to say that I believe that we should address Mr. Luzak's letter today. I feel like it is important, and I should have probably spoke up sooner, but that's, if we need a motion for that, I'll be happy to make it, or an amendment somewhere.
That's what I was going to recommend, Stephen, if you wanted to make an amendment to the motion.
So I would like to make the amendment that we discuss Mr. Luzak's letter today and hold the other 2 letters for Wednesday.
I'll second it.
A motion was made to amend the first motion to state that Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter will be addressed today. The motion was seconded by Mary. Any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? With none heard, motion carried. So at this time, we will address the letter by Mr. Anthony Luzak that was submitted, and I'm going to open up the letter. Thank you for sharing that, because I opened it up for you on my screen. So, we will take this time to address the letter. First of all, has all executive committee members had the opportunity to review Mr. Luzak's letter?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I would like to do at this time is allow for Mr. Luzak, if that's okay, Mr. Luzak, I'm understanding you're still on, so I think that you would be doing a better job with highlighting, because I did read your letter. Thank you for your letter, first of all. Thank you for taking the time to write such a detailed letter and giving us as a developmental disability community the opportunity to see it from the lens of the people that are being served or lack thereof. And so again, thank you for taking the time to actually put together such a detailed letter to help us see what our people are experiencing. And with that, I would like to turn it over to you, and I'm going to not intentionally want to keep you contained in terms of delivering your comments, but I am going to ask you to do the best you can. I will give you the floor of maybe 3 to 5 minutes. I know they may not sound, and then open it up for some questions from the committee, and then go into some public comments to address some of the concerns. And so I will now at this time give you the opportunity to share with the committee your concerns in the letter that you wrote to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for discussing this matter today. I really appreciate that. It would have been very difficult for me to attend on Wednesday. I will make the best effort attempt. I'm a certified pediatric nurse practitioner of primary care and a pediatric mental health specialist. I've been practicing for 6 years in Louisiana, more than 6 years, and I've been struggling with following my practice standards in regards to referrals and advocacy and access through school systems, through Medicaid, and through the Office of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities for the children that come into my clinic and many of their parents. Because oftentimes I have parents that have also have developmental disabilities, and these parents have been not diagnosed. And then it's even more difficult for me, honestly, because then I can't directly be the provider that refers the parents. I have to find another medical provider. And because these issues have been ongoing for decades. I'm so grateful, Dr. McKee, for your comments in response to the Advocacy Center, Louisiana Disability Rights Director's statements, because the issues that I'm addressing are not just behavioral health. They're not just Louisiana Department of Health. I'm familiar with that lawsuit, but these are fundamental issues that impact access to care at every single entry point that exists in the system aside from cash. And the cash prices are very prohibitive for people. And it's even difficult often to find psychologists that will take the cash. It still is hard. And part of that is because we have a system for decades that does not allow for the reimbursement. The school systems are not for whatever reason, it doesn't appear that school systems employ clinical or school psychologists with skill sets to diagnose these or evaluate the presence of these developmental disabilities or use, which is a major issue. I'm concerned about enforcement of federal and state laws and guidelines in regards to the school systems and how what type of oversight happens of pupil appraisals, and in regards to the evaluation and child find aspects of 1508 and IDEA. I'm also concerned about the pipeline to prison that results from a community that's all of Louisiana standing silently while we are in effect condemning children to have lifelong neuro deficits because of our being okay with the current system. If we do not get access to services in young ages with neurosensitive developmental windows, it is established scientific fact that these people will have more severe lifelong impairments as a consequence. And that's what we have in Louisiana right now. That's the status quo. And I'm not okay with that. And I'm pleased to read the letter carefully. I address many of the things in detail. It's very specific because I've been spending years looking at these issues and had conversations with many people that are professionals in each one of the organizations that I'm talking about. And we need to have a plan to address this that involves legislative. It may involve some level of legal action. I don't know, but it has to be fixed. And I believe that one of the issues that I would like to see is for the Developmental Disability Council to help special education and help like in some way that the school systems, the LEAs, need to be held accountable more easily. We need to give voice to the parents in regards to their rights and actually having access, each child access with actual special education advocates. And we need to have a culture in our legal professions where lawyers, like where I'm forming Connecticut, lawyers take pro bono cases and would be willing to a certain percent of their caseload be willing to help poor disabled children to have their civil rights enforced in a simple due process hearing. And we don't do that here. Even if you don't do pro bono, there's access issues for accountability. That's just one example. And there's many more as you go through. I may have other comments in the future, but I really appreciate you. And that's kind of my overview and where I'm coming from with these issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Luzak, for sharing your comments today regarding this letter. And we wanted to give you an opportunity to at least speak to what you have written. Of course, your letter has a lot of detailed concerns. And so we would like to, again, work closely with obtaining more information about what's going on in the letter. I will say that I did read the letter, and you have several key points in the letter that that you're asking, I guess, support from the DD Council on. And so I am going to entertain a motion in just one second. I want to make one more comment. I did notice one clearly about the DSM-4 diagnosis and the concern. And I think there's some more investigation that we may need to do with obtaining some information from OCDD to determine exactly what this diagnostic statistical manual that they're utilizing. Because again, the DSM-4 is outdated. In fact, it expired as of October of 2015. And so if the DSM-4 is still being used as a means to diagnose our people, that's really concerning. And so there are some, that we need to be able to reach out to some of the systems that are involved to really see, what position that the DD Council can help in supporting addressing these concerns that's written. Any comments from the executive committee at this time?
Hey, this is Mary. I was just thinking that we might need to see about getting some input from Department of Education and OCDD to get their take on what is going on and how to manage this better, or understand where they're coming from, or how to get on the same page to help our kids and our community. And then maybe we should put it on the agenda for the Education and Employment Committee moving forward, so that it's something that we're, that we will be monitoring. But I think that we're going to have to also maybe get some, maybe Chris has some ideas, and that things that we might need to look at, like you said, from all different fronts. Some of it may be, advocacy, some may be legal, some may be, all different, working with the different Department of Education, Bessie, OCDD, to kind of get us all moving in the same direction, in the same boat, because we tend to have issues that are very systemic, and this is not something and it's each individual having one little bit of this that affects them, and then the next individual has something a little bit different but alike. So I think it is something that we're going to have to work together with other groups. It won't be something that's going to be easily solved, but certainly something that we need to address.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mary. Any other executive committee member has any comments about this, the letter, this topic, and any input?
Hyacinth, you do have a council member that's not on the committee with her hand raised.
Okay, thanks, Ebony. If the committee does not have any other comments about this lengthy letter that was submitted to us, then I will turn it over to our council members that are present to make any comments. Okay, okay, so who do we have, Ebony, as a council member that's present that can make a comment?
Crystal White.
Greetings, Crystal. Hi, glad to
Hey,
have you
Hyacinth.
today.
Thanks. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Luzak for addressing this, because I have high concern with this. I believe that whenever we tend to cross over agencies and departments, whenever they tend to, for example, we're having the Department of Ed and we also have OCDD on this. Whenever we have two departments that kind of work in silos and we need for them to kind of come together on this because there's a gap, it gets kind of muddy, and so I'd really like for us to have both of our Department of Ed rep and OCDD present whenever we have this discussion, just because sometimes, since those departments are at different tables, different committees, we don't often have us come together and say, here's where the gaps are, and both can work on it at the same time. I'm noticing that a lot whenever we have like people with developmental disabilities and then with behavioral and there's dual diagnosis, we're having gaps in those systems. So I'm just noticing when we cross kind of departments, there's a gap. And I'd like just to make a recommendation that somehow, when we have a committee meeting, maybe if OCDD can join the Department of Ed group whenever this discussion, or Department of Ed come over to, the home and community based whenever we discuss it. I would just like to see all the big players at the table when we have this discussion. That's all.
Thank you, Crystal, for your comment. Any other comments from council members who are in attendance today? Okay, now I would like to open it to public comments. Any public comments? Okay, so hearing none, I am opening the floor to any motions from the executive committee member to address this letter. Any motions? Mary brought up some ideas on how we can move forward with addressing this letter that was received on July 30th. So at this time, I want to entertain any motions on how we should move forward with addressing this letter.
Hi, this is Mary. We might need to all work on the motion, but I was kind of thinking that we would have a motion to have the letter sent from maybe from the DD Council to OCDD and Department of Education representatives that are on the DD Council, to have them read it and make comments or give some input, and then to put it on the agenda for the Education and Employment Committee with the two groups, like Crystal had said, planning it at a time where we can do it at the beginning of our meeting, or somehow that we can coordinate so that they're both in the room at the same time. So I guess my motion is to make sure that we send a letter, a copy of Mr. Anthony's letter to OCDD and Department of Education to let them know that the DD Council wants to work on a resolution, and would ask them to make any comments back to us, and then also to put it on our October agenda for Education and Employment Committee.
Mouthful, Mary, but okay, so great. No, but you hit all the points. And so what I'm hearing is that a motion is on the floor that the DD Council, Developmental Disability Council, drafts a letter and send the letter to both agencies that sit on the council, representatives on the council, Department of Education and OCDD, and attach Mr. Luzak's letter and ask for a response from them and any recommendations, right, to address these concerns that are outlined in this letter. Does that sound like I said that correct? That's one motion, and then you have another motion, but that's the first motion. Okay, does that sound about right, Mary? Am I hearing that correct?
Yes.
All right, and so did we hear that motion? I want to make sure that because I'm gonna need a second for it if we all heard it. So that's the motion that Mary made. So can I get a second for that motion? We'll second it.
I just wanted to bring your attention to a comment from Chris Rodriguez, if you want to take that now. I think it's important to this.
Not in the middle of a motion, tell Chris, I'm so sorry. Not in the middle of the motion. I will entertain the comment after the motion is passed, and if he, then I will consider opening, but not in the middle of a motion. I have to move forward with Mary's motion right now.
Okay, well, I'll second.
Okay, and so I'm hearing that Stephen has seconded Mary's motion. Any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carried. Okay, so now we can entertain the comment from Chris. Hi, Chris. Can someone let Chris in?
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. No, I was just suggesting it probably doesn't make sense because they're not actually council members, but including sending that letter to OBH, Office of Behavioral Health, and Medicaid, because I mean, in order to solve this problem, they're definitely going to have to be included. But maybe that's down the road.
Okay. Okay. So if Mary would like to, or if someone on the committee wants to make a recommendation to modify that, they can. The motion, and then we'll go back to modify it. Mary, I don't know. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so you have to make your motion to amend your motion.
I was seeing that Mr. Anthony had a comment about something, so before I made the motion.
Okay, see one, Anthony, thank you for seeing that. Okay, so now I'll open it up to public comment. I'll let the public go in. Mr. Luzak, this is your letter. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. That's part of what I was. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chris, for your comment. I don't have to speak on that, but I agree with the recommendation and the council sending my letter to the OBH, Medicaid, and Louisiana Department. While I didn't speak on them, they were a significant part of the issues. Access through Medicaid is one of the 3 aspects of evaluations that are available to the public, and it's a very serious deficit that exists in this state right now. I believe that there's a wait list of over 1,000 people long to be tested at Children's Hospital New Orleans. So we also, I would recommend that the council consider including law enforcement because right now there are many young men and women in our juvenile detention centers and in our adult detention centers that have developmental disabilities because we have not diagnosed them and provided services when we should have by federal mandate earlier in their life.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Luzak, for that. And I am going to go back to the executive committee. Thank you for your comments on that. And so I will go back to the executive committee for the purposes of time, okay? and your comment has been heard. So I want to go back to Mary, my executive committee member, and ask her to amend the motion to what she wants it to be, on record as.
Hi, so I would amend it to include OBH and Medicaid.
All right. And so what I'm hearing is that we have an amendment to the motion that was made by Mary to draft a letter from the Developmental Disabilities Council requesting that the Office of Citizens for Developmental Disabilities, Office of Behavioral Health, as well as the Louisiana Department of Education be a part of this, of coming up with responses and or recommendations to the letter that Mr. Anthony Luzak has sent to the DD Council. We, that's the first motion, because we still never talked about the one going to the Employment Committee and all that, but that is the first motion. Are you, Mary, entertaining any other language that should go into your motion at this time?
No.
Okay. And so motion is on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Or yeah, I'll
Okay,
second.
so there's a second on the table. Stephen seconds. Any objections? Any abstentions? Without hearing none, motion carried. Okay. There is a second motion that Mary brought up that involves us addressing this document, this letter that Mr. Luzak has sent to us to be placed on the agenda for the Education Employment Committee, as well as, Mary, what else? It was something else you said. And Self-Determination Committee. That was the second piece. That's another motion. Mary?
I don't know how it would have to work, Courtney.
Courtney?
I don't know how it would have to work if if we need to have both of them, or if we put it on one that we work together when that issue is brought up, so that we can work together on the information.
May I speak?
Yes.
Most of these entities, I think all but maybe Department of Education, are included on the Act 378 subcommittee. So would it be appropriate for this to be addressed during that committee, since all of them are already congregated and meeting in that committee?
That's a good recommendation, but we definitely need DOE at the table, because his letter does speak to the IEP process identification. And so we definitely need DOE at the table. So
maybe instead of it being addressed in those two standing committees, it can be addressed in the Act 378 committee and include Department of Education.
Yes, that's a good idea. And I think that the Act 378 meets at a separate time.
they do, absolutely.
Doesn't the education and employment and the
Well, right now with everything being virtual, everything's being scheduled separately.
You're right. I'm thinking in October we may be regular again.
I thought that too, Mary. I promise I brought that up to Courtney. I was like, so we're gonna be at there? She's like, So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, we can just go right in the room and talk about it, Okay, so all right, so are we wanting to make that motion that we would have Mr. Luzak's letter be discussed at Act 378 with a invitation, with a request that LDOE is present? Is that Is that what
Yes.
we're doing? Okay. Right. So Mary has made a motion to have Mr. Anthony Luzak's letter be heard and discussed at the Act 378 meeting with a representative from Special Education Diverse Learner Supports, Louisiana Department of Education meeting. A motion's on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mike, second the motion. Any objections? Any abstentions? Without hearing none, motion carried. All right, let's see, I'll get back to this agenda. So I don't see much of anything else on this agenda today, folks. Do I see any public comments before we move to get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Any public comments about what was discussed today? Well, hearing no public comments, I am happy to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 11:38. I cannot believe this, so we need to go on ahead and get a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
And so can we go on ahead and second this meeting, a second adjournment?
I'll second.
You all have a blessed day. Have a blessed Labor Day. So glad to see my committee members who have went through a lot with Laura, and we love y'all. Our hearts are with y'all. And so glad to see your faces today. Please enjoy your Labor Day weekend. It's a pleasure to work with you, and I will be seeing you on Wednesday. You all have a blessed weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.